Hey, everybody, it's Friday and another episode of Email and Coffee with Joy Brooks. I'm talking today with Troy Hippolito, who is about to introduce himself. Go ahead, Troy. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you, Joy, for having me. And I was previously known as the not so boring LinkedIn guy, but I hated that title. I hated it, and it was just kind of enough.
It
And
was a
before,
boring, not so boring
yeah,
title.
it's just enough to kind of remember you. And before I was a LinkedIn guy, I had a gamification company, IT company, and we did a lot of interesting projects. And I was the number one Swissipino game designer in the world, right? And that was my pickup line at the bar. And so I always liked Swissipino because my mother is from Switzerland, and my father is Filipino, so I'm half Asian and half European. And so I said, you know what? Let me just be the top Swissipino LinkedIn guy. I don't care if people know it or not. So that's what my new title is. I switched it up a couple weeks ago, and I'm standing with that. So I'm the top Swissipino LinkedIn guy in the world.
So you said that you did some gamification with IT. I love gamification. Well, being an email, it's some of the things that we like to inject into email to make it fun, gamification. So it's like,
Hmm.
ooh, how can we gamify this? So talk
Hmm.
a little bit about like gamification projects, that strategy.
Well, a lot of them were actual games. So we were a shop called ISO Interactive, and we started out with a lot of websites. So when Coca Cola is a lot of different companies, right? Sometimes they merge and sometimes they split apart. They have one called Coca Cola Enterprises, and they remerge. So I did the whole website for their remerger. And so it was a lot of interactive components. How can you keep it fresh? How can you keep people enticed? And all that sort of thing. So I worked for an agency. Well, as a contract, my company contracted with another agency to do that website. And then we start getting a lot of different work. Like Dasani came and said, "Hey, this is before apps were popular. Can you make a desktop app?" So a lifestyle app. They call it a lifestyle app. And so we created a cool little Dasani micro app, which was like a built-in website without a browser, and it could measure how much water you would drink. We also worked on a lot of their animations for their vending machines. So a long time ago, when they first started doing the animations, they had a small box, a small window that did all the animation before they had the larger screens, and they always had a lot of problems with that. And so they had this box that they said was worth $500,000 for testing, and they couldn't figure out why it wasn't working well. And I already knew the answer. I didn't have to open it because I was a developer and a designer and programmer. I said, "Oh, what processor are you using?" I said, "Oh, it's a frame rate issue." And I said, "Just drop your frame rates to 15 instead of running on 30. It'll run a heck of a lot smoother." And they said, "Oh, how'd you know this?" So I had an opportunity to kind of work at cutting edge technologies as they were coming out. We also did like Xbox mobile app. We did a Harry Potter virtual world. We did about 15 virtual worlds. And when you talk about gamification, a lot of times they want to educate people. And one way to educate it is to gamify it. And so we had one talking about hemophiliacs, believe it or not. And they were talking about all these different things. And we built levels and achievements as they went through sites, and things happen at a certain time. And so when you gamify, you want to educate that person in a way that you will have them come back to re-educate them again and again, because most people cannot absorb a lot of information at once. So if you want them to absorb this information, you want to give them to little bite-sized chunks that opens their mind and makes them like want to do it. And
Right.
so those are a
That's
lot
why
of
gamification works because it's fun and you're
projects.
feeding them information in the process.
Yeah. It's a little addictive too, because um, each gamification process or product or project was different. So it wasn't something like, Instagram, you scroll, it's kind of addictive and you go through it and all that. You don't know why you're doing it. So you don't get a great joy out of that. You just get more of an addiction, a little bit of a bump in your serotonin. What is it? Whatever that drug
Dopamine.
is. Dopamine. I would say
Dopamine.
serotonin because that's totally different.
That's how
Serotonin makes
we
you go to
put you to
sleep.
sleep.
But dopamine, yeah, they got a little shot of dopamine. I was going to tell you all wrong information. And so that's an addictive quality, but it's not always enjoyable. And so when you create a unique product and a unique way of doing stuff, it it has a way of sucking you in, you know.
Mhm.
So there's plenty of things. And back in the day, what got me excited was they had a website called Habba Hotel, and it was a pseudo 3D virtual world where hundreds of people can go in there. And this is
Mhm.
before all the things when they have Club Penguin and all that stuff. All that stuff came afterwards.
Larry
But
the Lounge Lizard.
well, I don't know about that one, but I looked and I was like, and I thought I was a hot shot developer at the time, right? And I couldn't figure out how they did it. And that's what enticed me to build these virtual worlds. And we built one for Harry Potter, and we did it for the fan base, and we did it for free. And we got so many awards, and we had like hundreds over, I think over 100 or 200,000 people register. It crashed the servers. And you can't make money off of it, of course, you know, but you can use it for, we were printed in magazines and all this other stuff. So I really enjoy working with people to create ideas and solutions.
Mhm.
And now my new business, it's called the Troy Agency. We're a marketing agency specifically on how to generate more clients through communication. And so the
Mhm.
same idea really applies. How do I create an omnipresence, which means how can I be everywhere? You know, how can I be always top of mind? And so a lot of people say, well, I just use this one thing, or I use the email method, or I send people videos. Um, a lot of times you need an inbound and outbound strategy. And then how do you personalize that engagement? And when you engage that person, you know, what's your process of onboarding and then making them successful? So what I do is I get them bookings, and I had all these different services and I pared it down to two. We have I train you how to do it. It's a mastermind. It's also like a group coaching. So from nuts to bolts, I'll teach you everything. Build your own team. I'll give you a VA, run it yourself, whatever you want to do. Or it's a done for you. And a done for you is we take it over and we get you bookings. Because at the end of the day, that's what people want. They want vetted bookings for relationship and sales and that sort of thing.
Mhm. Sales is the sales. You know, when you're a solopreneur and you're managing your talent, your asset, your service, your product, whatever it is, um, that doesn't necessarily mean your sales. And sales is tough. And sales is so totally different than what it is that you may be, your talent, your skill is. So that's every single solopreneur is trying to figure out how to get leads.
Well, I'll say this much. The reason why we shifted is because we were helping a lot of people, and everybody wanted stuff for free. And that told me one thing: I'm dealing with the wrong people because you have to pay to play. And I'm sorry if you can do everything yourself, and you should be, and you're making a lot of money. God bless you. I mean, I was a designer, a top designer in Atlanta. I was a developer, project manager, a company owner, a visionary. I did software architect. I did a lot of things really well, but there's a point where you don't want to work 100 hours a week. And even if you are like five people in one, people are not going to believe that. They're going to think you're a jack of all trades, or even worse, a flea market. So it's not the reality of what you can do, but it's also what should you not do. You know, so if you have these different jobs or hats, let's call them hats, your job should be removing the hat and pushing the vision of the company eventually.
Mhm.
So the less hats that you can wear, and you could have other people do these things like repeatable tasks, you
Mhm.
shouldn't be wasting your time on that. And that's what a lot of solopreneurs don't understand. They should set up a system and partnerships to reduce their workload so they can shine in the areas that they're known for.
Right.
Like I don't do sales. I don't help people with sales. I help people with bookings. So that means that they need a sales process already. And so companies that put in money, they usually have other processes already set up. So the problem with a lot of solopreneurs is they're all willy nilly, and and they want to make a buck, and they're dealing with other people that aren't making the amount of money. Oh, that's my daughter, by the way. She's out of school. I don't
She's
think
going
she's.
up the stairs. Here we go. Hi.
Yeah, you want to say hi? I don't think she has her grapes in her hand, her food in her hand. She's taking upstairs.
Look
Okay,
at you.
upstairs. All right, have fun.
See you later. See you in 18 years. You'll be hot.
Yeah, she's good.
Too hot for daddy.
No, she's actually low maintenance, but I think that has to do with like um I'm a single parent, by the way, so um I think it's a little easier for men to parent kids than women by themselves. I think it's even easier when two parents, but men
I
just
think, yes.
men just tell you what to do. Like, okay, oh, I got to do that. So it's a little easier versus a woman will negotiate.
Yes. But
I don't
that's what
think
I
they
was about
negotiate
to
with
say.
children. So that just, I don't.
That's what I was about to say is that you've got a girl, and right now she's in that easy phase, but
Yeah.
she's going to start negotiating with you.
Oh no, you don't
Yeah.
negotiate.
She's going to start when she
He'll
gets to the
start
point.
negotiating, not me.
The dynamic will change in about, well, how old is she?
She's 6. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
10, 11, 12. You'll see those hormones beginning
yeah.
to surge, and then it'll be like, oh, this is totally different. But my I was a very easy young child, did everything, and then unfortunately I grew up in the 60s.
Oh,
So
okay.
mm, mm,
Yeah, I
my
can
parents
imagine.
got stuck with a hippie, and that was tough, but
Yeah.
I'm back to normal now, whatever that means.
Yeah. What is
I
normal anyway? I
don't
mean,
know. I have
I
no
mean,
idea.
well, she will. My daughter will challenge me, and I have two boys that are adults, and I have an older daughter, but she's the one that's with me full time. So I don't have a
Mhm.
girlfriend, don't have a wife, or anything like that. I don't even date right now because it's a little crazy. Because I'm 50, and the only women that hit on me are like 23 to 25, or they're much older than me. So I'm getting kind of like, this is kind of a weird space for me. So unless I find someone really right, I don't put too much effort into that.
Mm. I'm a widow, and people ask me all the time, "Oh, do you think that you'll date again?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I'm not ready for that just yet."
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's difficult, and it's a different animal for women than men. So I always yeah. So a young woman, like in her physical prime, has all the power, you know, but they waste it. A lot of times they just waste it, and they go out and party and mess with the, and then after they've gone through so much trauma, they say, "Oh, now I want to find a good guy." Well, the good guy don't want you sometimes after you've gone through, because you're difficult to deal with.
I was
And
married when I was 40. I got married at 40.
wow, that's unusual.
I got
Yeah.
married at 40 because exactly that. I was very. I wanted to have a career. I was working in television. I
Hmm.
wanted to be a writer. I was trying to break into, trying to go to Los Angeles and trying to break in
Yeah, I'm trying to live
to
the
write
dream.
to the dream, and it was in my face. You gotta play if you want to get in this. And I was like, okay, I'll play. No, no,
The
literally, like
industry's rough. Yeah,
very
it's rough.
rough,
It's rough,
very, very rough.
especially for
And
women, because men will go through, and I'm being very general, so everyone is individual how they handle stuff, but in general, women are smarter in the fact that they'll make so much money and say, okay, it's enough. I don't want to deal with this anymore, and maybe I can have a family now. Versus a lot of men will, they're hyper geared for success, and that comes at the sacrifice of family.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're insane, and that's why people say, "Oh, why is this guy making so much money?" I said, "Because he has no life." Because
That's his
and
life.
so
Exactly.
I do believe in a good balance and stuff like that. So before I had my daughter, I had her for about 4 years, and my bachelor days, I was like, man, I was an idiot because I was going out. I was a bachelor, and I was going out, and you can't save these people. So you have to pick good friends, good partners. Someone that you're compatible with, and everything else is just um, anything else will damage you.
Yeah, it's we say this in hindsight because we've been through it and we
Yeah.
know, but it's
Yeah.
at
Oh,
at the
I totally made some mistakes, and I led with my heart, and that's kind of the wrong thing to do. I mean, I don't want to say it's always the wrong thing to do, but
I
there's
led with my hormones, so that was even worse.
oh yeah, yeah, I could, yeah, I would think, yeah.
I mean,
Um,
they always overrode everything. I couldn't even think straight. Couldn't even
well,
think straight.
at which age was this? 30?
From like I'd say from 16,
Oh,
16
okay.
till I was oh, honestly. There was a point in my 30s where I stopped dating completely, and my husband did not believe it when I told him I haven't dated anybody in 6 years. And he kept saying to me, "Oh, that's
Oh yeah,
ridiculous."
I
I'm
had a
like, "Okay."
conversation and someone didn't believe me. I mean, I went on a date and I cut it off real quick. So I make a date. So I'll go out, meet them, buy a meal, have some drinks, or maybe in a social circle type situation. And COVID made that kind of difficult. But I like old fashioned dating, right? And I don't take them home. I cut the night out and go home. And I think for a lot of younger women, that is weird. They're not used to actual going on a date because you and I know what's going to happen if they go to my place, right? And then I have to deal with that long term. So and I already know the
Especially when you've
pain.
got a
Yeah, if you're
daughter.
not
Especially,
compatible, you know the pain behind that. And as a single parent, I don't want to lose my child over someone that's not really all put together, and you
right,
want to avoid
exactly.
that. So you got to vet that stuff out. And so this younger girl that I went on a date with, the only reason I dated her because, well, number one, I was attracted, of course, because I'm a man, so we're visual. But the other thing was that she had two jobs, so I knew that she was working. And I know that, and I'm in Atlanta, so if a lot of times if you date a woman and she's like everything you want, you find out she's a stripper 3 months later. You want to avoid that kind of stuff. So I said, I know you're not, I know you're not, exotic dancer. I know this and this. I said, let's just go out on a date. And the thing was that she could not get her time together. She says, oh well, I have a hard time handling my kid or whatever, and can you come back later on? And so you do that a couple times, I'm out. I'm like,
That's somewhat too much drama.
yeah, it's just like you can't. You want me to come back? I schedule time off because I'm a business person, so my time is more valuable than my money. I can make more money, but you can't make more time.
Yeah.
And after you hit 50, you're like, my
Oh, yeah.
time is finite on this planet, and I
Yeah.
want to
You
enjoy it.
realize that.
Yeah, and I want people to kind of respect some of these boundaries, and I want to live a good life, and especially you know I'm actually looking for a family. Like I want to have, because I missed that. I was married for 10 years. I had a family, and I was like, well, that's kind of the most important thing right now. So if I find a girl that I want to date on a regular basis, I need to make sure that she's good, mother material.
Right.
And that's kind of hard to find nowadays, believe it or not.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand. I
Anyway, this
understand.
went on a tangent. It has nothing to do with LinkedIn. So
No, no, it has nothing to do with marketing, but it's pertinent. It is something that a lot of people are faced with, or will be faced with, or have been faced with. I
yeah.
mean, talk about a perspective. It's like at some point I realized, and I mean realized, I have far less time in front of me than I have behind me. And I mean far less. And then somebody said to me, we were having a conversation, we were talking about things. He goes, well, you've probably got about 15 years, good years. And I thought to myself, he's right. 15 more, when he said 15 years, he was talking about, good
Good
health,
years.
good years. And
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, he's right. That's
Well, you
scary.
have to live your life, but you don't want to live you don't want to be reckless. And when you're younger, you can be like I hit my peak when I was like 7 years ago, when I was mid 40s.
Mhm.
Okay? And most people, like when I say peak, I'm like I've never been the best. I've been in great shape. I was making great money. I was a bachelor, and I was much better looking than I am now. Just because when you have a kid, you take care of the child before you, and so you had and you lived in a certain area. You're around certain people. I was in the mix and all that other stuff, and I realized I said, yeah, men peak around 45, 50, in life, and women do it at an earlier age. So whatever time you have to kind of make the most of it.
But you know
But
what?
mhm.
Women become smarter in their 60s.
Well, I think women are smarter than men in general.
But we
we're,
become
we're, we're not
smarter
too
in our
bright
60s.
on certain areas because men are our hemispheres are more separated. So we generally are good at technical tasks, but we're a little slow in other things, and women's hemispheres on the brain are better connected. So in general, I found that women are much better communicators. So I
Yeah,
always
but
think
we
men and women
endlessly,
they're complementary though. You know,
yes, oh, absolutely. But women are endless communicators.
yeah, you can get a little
So
too
the
far
conversation
sometimes.
doesn't stop. It's like, oh, let's talk about this. Oh, God, we can have an hour conversation about this. Yes, we are. Okay, just let her talk. Just let her talk. And,
Yeah. Well, I'll
I
pick your
used to do
poison.
it with I remember, I used to visit my mom on Sundays for brunch, and my mom and dad, we'd sit at the table, and we'd have our brunch, and I'd have a conversation with my mom, and my father would be like, "Time to go." The ladies are talking, and it's just like, and he would just leave, and I would say, "Why are you
Because
going?" He
he
goes,
doesn't want to be in that world. Of course.
he has nothing to say. It's just like it's blue. Okay, see you later. It's not sky blue. It's not eggshell blue. It's not It's not when do you wear blue? Do you look good in blue? Do you like blue? I don't like blue. Let's go back to talk about Robin's egg blue. I mean, he's
Yeah.
done. It's blue. See ya.
Yeah. Yeah, men
And
are a
I
little more functional,
Yeah.
which is
Well,
good
that's
and bad. Which is
yes,
good
it
and bad.
is.
Yeah.
When my late husband was around, honey, it's broke. Well, within 15 minutes, it would be fixed. And me, no. Now I know a lot of people have said, there are a lot of Home Depot classes you could take. I'm like,
But it's not your
no,
thing.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, you're not interested you're
At this
interested in
point, what
other
do you
things.
think? I'm going to take up power tools and start drilling holes in the wall? No,
Yeah,
no.
some people do, but
I know, I know, I
you gotta.
know.
It's like sports. I was a wrestler in high school, right? And I couldn't do it very long because it was ripping the hair off my legs, and then the country boys, they wouldn't shower for 3 weeks. It was just gross, right? They just kind of, it was just, can you imagine two guys sliding and they stink? And I just said it's not for me. I exercise and stuff, but I'm not doing any more hardcore sports. And so, but my sons were my oldest son was state champion in wrestling in his high school, you know, and then my younger son, one of the years he was state champion in soccer. So he may be doing soccer for quite a while, so that might be his thing. And you got to have your loves and what entices you to kind of push you forward. So I always like people that have their own habits, even if it's not the same. And I think it's a really great thing, because you can't be in the shelter all the time and do nothing, you know. Even if you're a boring person, like I'm kind of a boring person in general, because I
I'm
think
very
I think
boring.
we're all a little boring after 50.
Very
If you
boring.
if you really look, if you kind of measure it out, but you got to get out and do stuff, and you got to have something inside you that makes you inspired. That's one reason I have my business, because I revamped a couple of ideas to simplify. And so, like I said, I got a done for you service. It's a white glove, high end, but a lot of people want to learn how to do it. I love teaching, and
Mm.
it's an opportunity for me to say, hey, I have 10x people's income, literally, through a few sessions, and just to structure their business in a way where it's going to generate more money. And so that's exciting to me. I can get in there and actually make a change in someone's life. Of course, I have my frustrations, because I got one post, and I don't know, I had like 5,000 views on LinkedIn, which is, it's pretty good. It's not like I'm not super big or anything on there, but it was enough to get 12 meetings, and everyone wanted to jump on the program, but no one wanted to pay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tire kickers, and so you have to separate that. I learned real quick. Okay, I'm just talking to the wrong person, and you got because once you are aligned, once your brand is aligned with the right people, things are a lot easier. You know, someone says, "Oh, this is very." Let's say this product is very expensive, but to someone else, it's super cheap. So
Yeah.
if an agency is paying, say, 20,000 a month on YouTube ads, and they get 3 meetings a week out of it, right? Or whatever, 12 meetings a month. Well, shoot, I could triple that, and I can charge them $4,000 a month. So they're getting a large savings. But I think a lot of people, they don't really know the lifetime value of a client. And so that's kind of the despair between some of these shoot by the hip solopreneurs versus the ones that have it together or getting it together. So I
Yeah.
think you have to have that passion, but you have to have enough organization and a realization to know where to bob and weave and shift, or do your A/B test to see what's working and what doesn't work. You
You've
know,
got to get to a point where you've got a discipline. So, you're doing things in some sort of a trend or a pattern. You've got a schedule. You know that if you do this and it
yeah.
doesn't work, you have another plan.
I hate to
Just a
say this. This is
few
bad
things.
news. Yeah, this is really bad news, and this is going to hurt a lot of people's feelings. But I'm running across all these entrepreneurs that have a full time job, right? If
Mhm.
you have a full time job, you are not an entrepreneur. I'm sorry. You're doing something on the side, you
Mhm.
know. So you're an entrepreneur when
And you have,
this is your full time gig. This is how you're making your mortgage. This is how you're paying for your kids. This is how you're paying for that fancy car. You
I
know,
used to call it the cash cow.
cash.
So I
Well,
would, yeah, I would say, well, you know what? I have a few, gigs on the side and I've got a cash cow.
oh yeah, and there's nothing wrong with having
No,
a
it's
gigs. I'm
nothing.
not saying that. I'm not putting that down.
No, no,
But
but
what I'm saying is,
it,
figure out where you're at and where you want to go. And
mhm.
so when someone says something's expensive, it just blows my mind, because it's not. I say, how much is a client worth? Oh yeah, it's worth $100,000. This client, and I said, and you're balking to pay 3,000 a month. I'm giving an example. Not
Yes.
everything's different, but you're balking at paying 3,000 a month, and you're getting 5 to 10 qualified meetings a week. It's like, are you disconnected? Well, most of the time, what happens is they can't close the deal. So they have systematic issues. And that's
Yeah.
one thing people have to take a deep dive in, is like, what am I good at? What can I do? What do I need a partner in? Because at the end of the day, we don't live on an island. Most
Right.
of us don't anyway.
Right.
And
Right. Well,
we
there
have
are a
to.
few people that have extraordinary talents, or they just happen to be at the right time at the right place with the right people. Whatever. It's like not what they know; it's who they know. There are a number of things,
Oh
but
yeah,
for
you're right. Yeah, relationships. Your network is your net worth.
Mhm.
Your network, yeah, and your zip code makes a big difference too.
Yep.
Believe it or not, because you're surrounded around people, and 50% of your business is based on recommendation. So all these
Mhm.
systems do is get the awareness out and support recommendations. You know,
Mhm.
for a good portion of it anyway. You
Right.
know, so people should design a system where they can get leads and qualified leads in their sleep. Unless they don't really have a great product. So I found that when I talk to most people, the reason I teach you one is because a lot of people are not ready for a done for you service because they can't comprehend the pieces. So they need to comprehend the pieces to do that. And they say, "Oh, okay, now I understand how it works. At least I won't get screwed over when I upgrade what I'm doing, or I hire out to train someone else to do it within internally." And so
Mhm.
that was the reason for actually separating those two, because I think there's a lot of good people out that just don't know what's what, who to believe, how things work. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was
Well,
the whole
there's a
point.
lot of people out there that are selling prepackaged, multi-level marketing BS.
Oh yeah.
So they buy from someone else and they want you to buy, and here's a training class with resources and it's great, and there's everything there,
But
but
how many
it's
people really go through those resources and understand? So in my experience, I would say 90% of the people that didn't have a full come or weren't fully independent, they had another gig or something. Um, they had a willpower issue. They just don't follow. They're not trainable.
yeah,
They don't really. Let me simplify it. Um, they're so used to working a job that's very linear.
right,
And so they're not aware of the other options. And so they
right,
don't think dynamically. And
right.
as a solopreneur, you have to be a very dynamic thinker in order because you have to see how to connect the dots.
Mhm.
And it's so bad. It's like I had one company. He says, "Yeah, I made millions of dollars of software. It's this thing, a CRM. I can bump their sales 20%." I said, "It's huge. It works. So let me take a look at this." I said, "Yeah, I need you to help me sell it." I said, "I can sell this all day long." I said, "Just make the meetings." And so he's an expat, and he moved. It's an American guy. He moved to Philippines, but he wanted to work on Filipino time. That's not
Right.
going to work. Do you think these Fortune companies are going to take a meeting at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
He refused to do it. So I fired him because it's like I don't want my reputation, and it's almost as if you had this analogy here, if you had a big red button, you
Hmm.
put it on the wall, and you
Hmm.
said, "John, I want you to click that red button at 8:30 in the morning every day. And then within 2 weeks, you'll get clients, right?" Can you
Hmm.
imagine how easy that is, right?
Hmm. Right.
And one client is worth, say, $10,000 or maybe a million. Like an IT company client, you got little small WordPress sites, 4K, and you got large apps worth over a million. And if you're a
Hmm.
gaming company, well, that's a whole different ball game, right?
That's okay.
Much larger, hundreds of millions and all that stuff. But all you have to do is click that, and you'll make money. And you'll get all sorts of excuses like, "Oh, I don't know, my arm kind of hurts. I don't really want to click it this morning," right? If my arm really hurt, I would click it with my nose. You know, oh, it doesn't feel right when I click the button. You know, they're in their personal, they're in their personal whatever is going on in there, and I don't feel so motivated to click a button. And I'm one of the rare people that I don't care if I'm motivated or not. I'm just going to do it.
Hmm.
So I believe that motivation has to come from within at first.
Hmm.
and can be
Well, he
nurtured.
solved the problem. If he says he doesn't want to work, he wants to work Filipino time, then work with it. There's a lot of business in Asia.
Yeah, but I don't do business in Asia, so you can't work with
So,
me.
well, his solution would be, I'll bring you Asian business and I'll show you, I'll do that for you. And you'd be like, oh, really? Let's talk about that then,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
I'm just
yeah, yeah.
saying.
Well, another thing too is you don't want to go too far out your wheelhouse.
Yeah,
Where
no, I'm just,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you're talking about
stupid.
connecting the dots, and that definitely makes sense. You also have the barriers on your business, but yeah, I think that's a great point that you're saying. But how much?
That's the
But
motivation. You solve the problem. If I can't, if I've got a service for you and
it would have been
something's
another.
not,
It would have been
yeah,
another excuse,
another
though.
excuse.
It would
I
have been
know.
another
That's
excuse.
what I'm saying.
Well, yeah,
He,
because the thing is, he's got this beautiful Asian fiance or whatever, and he's living the life. He ain't really trying to do business. You could
mm,
smell it.
I hope
You
he's
see
got
how big
money.
those collars he has on, and he's like, is this guy coming on the meeting drunk? And so yeah, because he's having a good old time, and the fiance is the one pushing it. And you never know the motivations and stuff, but at the end of the day, you gotta want it,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
you gotta work with honest people, and
Right.
not everyone's gonna make it. And so
Exactly.
that's why you have A/B testing. That's why you have a see what markets works and what's don't. And then certain people are really good at certain areas. So you have to figure out where am I really strong at, and where can I shine. For example, I get 20% conversion rate to a meeting for a meeting for every connection that comes in. It's super high. So you got to figure out if they connected with me, they're booking a meeting with me or giving me their booking either way, right?
Hmm.
20% is huge.
Hmm.
And you know why? I do personalization. I'll get on my LinkedIn app on the phone and just thank him for connecting. And I say, thank you for connecting. And I see you do A, B, and C. And then I'll make correlate to whatever for conversation purposes. And I'll tell him, I'm not sure if there's anything I can do for you, but if you have a moment, um, John, if you have time, take a look at my LinkedIn profile. And if you see any dots to connect, send me your booking link and I'll schedule with you. And I say, thanks again. Hopefully, we talk soon and then have a wonderful day.
Hmm.
It's 35 seconds. And some people can't do a video. I have another client, great guy. Sometimes you can circumvent some of these, but he says, Troy, how long did it take you to do that video? I said, you mean the 35-second video when someone comes? He goes, yeah. I
The
said,
35-second one.
he says, yeah. I said, well, how long did it take you to do it? He says, it took me 2 hours. I'm like, what? And I couldn't comprehend why it took so long. I said, it took me 35 seconds. And so some people are not good at video, and they got to have a certain persona and all that.
That's
The
exactly
people who
right.
make
They're not saying it. They don't look right. They got to go put their makeup on, take their makeup off, put the suit on. It's just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, just
And
be
then if that
appropriate.
didn't work, A/B test. Okay, next time I
Yeah.
will put the
Well,
suit
maybe
on.
a voice memo would work then.
Right.
What we
Exactly.
do, what do on one of our services is that we'll create a video for them for that particular market. And then we have a special system that will send it out natively. And we're the only ones that have that because a lot of people do a Loom or a link, and then you have a drop page, and then a lot of people won't click on that, especially if they just connected with you. But they'll look at an internal video or a voice memo through the app. And so
Hmm.
we can create a nice video. We can give them a script. We can tighten it up. We can even bring it in Instagram, make it look nice, and
Hmm.
maybe a little grainy or whatever it is to make it have a little homey feel, but
Hmm.
yet professional. Clean up the sound, and we can send that out to that campaign, and that way that person gets an embedded video on LinkedIn, so they don't have
Hmm.
to click any links and whatever, and that gets good conversion. It doesn't get as good as personally doing it, but
Hmm.
at least gets about a 10% conversion rate. So think, I get between 20 and 80 connections a day, like come
Hmm.
in for me.
Hmm.
If I get 20%, let's just say 20, that means I get at least 4 meetings a day.
Hmm.
just by doing my daily process. And then that's one thing in my daily process. So
Hmm.
if you have a daily process, all you gotta do is, okay, I'm gonna do my daily process from 8 to 9 a.m. and you block that off and you do it. And there's a lot of different things you can do. The video thing is just one example,
Hmm.
but
And you don't make excuses, and you do it. You just do
yeah,
it.
I just got over migraine, and I took a number of meetings, and they're looking at me. I'm like, I got to explain it to them. I said, "Oh, I apologize. I'm a little slow, so I'm gonna record this Zoom or whatever. I'm getting over a migraine or whatever." And they understand. I don't have to cry about it or anything, but I want them to, I don't want them to think that I'm being a douche or something on the call.
Right, 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 right.
You try to be as attentive as possible, but you got to work through a lot of that stuff. And
Hmm.
sometimes you need to know if your body's not feeling well, freaking take a nap.
Right,
Like
right,
like
right,
I'll
right.
go at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. I don't have anything to 2 to 4. And I said I'm gonna go ahead and um, I'm gonna take a nap and put a timer on my. I got because sleep is important.
Right,
And when you're sick, a lot of times you don't get much sleep.
right.
And you gotta just know what to do, when to do it, what's reasonable. You know.
When you become a solopreneur, you really gotta have it together. It's gotta be tight. Whatever it is, it's gotta be
Hmm.
tight because you're relying on yourself. When you lean back, no one's there to hold you up. There's no corporation. You're it.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Having a job in general, I think, is it has its own challenges and limitations, but a lot of ways it's much easier. But people like me, we can't keep a job.
yeah,
Like
I
I
think
work for Cricket, AT&T. Well, Cricket is AT&T. I work for agencies a little more flexible, but a lot of those things have a lot of rules. So when I was a project manager for Cricket, I had to report on 35 projects, and I had to train the other project managers who were coming in, and I had to report to 5 people, and I had to
what do
report
we
in a different way. And person one couldn't know what person four was doing. One was a PowerPoint, one was an email, one was a spreadsheet. It was insane, right? And some people are built for that. They just tell them what to do, not me, because it never made sense. And it was hard for me because I'm used to hiring and firing. So when you're in a corporation, it's hard to put any pressure or onus on the person getting the work done.
hmm
So if you have a designer or UX guy, it's hard get them to think about how long stuff takes and then what they would deliver and when they'll deliver it, because you can't fire them. So it has
right,
its own challenges as well. But also, I know people that are sales guys and they do cloud computing stuff, and he's bumping $250,000 take home after bonus, and his wife is probably making 100K or whatever. They're doing really well. So there's nothing wrong with having a job. You just got to figure out whatever it is that you're doing. How do I make the most of it?
right, right. I mean, there are some very sweet opportunities out there.
Oh
There's
yeah.
no doubt about it, right? But those are few and far between. Not everybody's going to get one of those sweet jobs. You're going to have to deal with a corporation. You're going to have to deal with their culture. You're going to
Hmm.
have to deal with their mission, your management, their style, and you may have management that has two or three different styles within a culture. I mean,
Hmm.
there's a lot of things going on,
Hmm.
and you've got to get the work done.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
and
you've
you
got
got politics in there as well. And
politics.
that's another thing too, is I don't have the what they call the bullshit gene.
Yeah,
Like I can't lie. Like you'll see it in
I'm
my face. I'm a
unfiltered.
terrible liar,
I'm a
right?
terrible liar.
So I just say I'm just bluntly honest, and I try to be polite, but that rubs a lot of people the wrong way because I'm not going with the flow. So
Exactly.
I'm like genetically dispositioned not to lie. So I'm a doer. You get me something to get me something done, a problem, and I'll fix it. You know. But if the problem is I got to be real nice and pretend that I like everyone, that's difficult.
And
Because at
you're
the end
not
of the day,
there to like everyone. You're not there to.
well,
I
in
mean,
corporate in corporations you are.
I
In
know, but
corporations, it's a and that maybe not all corporations, but they tend to want everyone to be like a happy family.
yeah,
Um,
kumbaya.
Yeah, and your personality may be geared to get functional stuff done, and not, you
That
know,
was me. That
and
was
not
me.
have, yeah, and not have the same. You're not going to have the same likes as
Right.
everyone, you know.
Well,
And if you're not a
I
good
was.
culture fit, boom, they'll get rid of you. It's not your
I
work
know.
performance, in many times, you know.
When I started working in television, it was 19. It was the 1980s, and I worked for NBC, and it was,
Hmm.
Saturday Night Live. It was exciting. It was fun. It was
Hmm.
very creative, and I was mixing and matching and meeting and doing, and I was
You had
inspired.
your own flow going on, huh?
Yeah, I was inspired. Now, it was a little risky because in those days, it included a lot of partying,
Hmm.
and I
Oh
got
yeah, I heard
sidetracked.
the '80s, man. The '80s, there were just
It was a lot of
a lot of
partying,
cocaine going on there, huh?
a lot of partying, too
Mm.
much. And that's why I said it was. If you really wanted to succeed, you would get caught up in the flow, and it wasn't a healthy flow. Everybody burns out.
You
Everybody
know,
burns
yeah, that reminds me a little of Chicago. And I of course, I don't, I never really participated in like overzealous type stuff all the time. I mean, my bachelor days, I may have. That's probably the closest thing, going out and having fun all the time, or out to like the little bikini bar at, on a Tuesday. But that's not super extreme, because people business do that all the time. Um, yeah, so yeah, I would imagine to keep control of
out.
that might have been
Yeah,
daunting.
within like 10, 11 years, I was like, I not only can't
You
I
were
do
doing it
this,
10 or 11 years?
I was doing it for 11 years, 19,
Wow.
no, 12 years, 1980 to 1992. In 1992, and I happened to meet my husband in
Oh yeah, he
1992.
saved you.
Well, he was on Long Island, and for me to go out with him, I had to be on Long Island, not in New York City. So,
Yeah.
because he wasn't part of that crowd, and
Yeah, that world.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I had to make a sacrifice, but it was a good thing because I
Cool.
I was burning out. I literally, I mean, I was on fire. I was burning that bad.
I did a 1 year contract. I could have been there now still. I couldn't stand it. I was in Chicago, which is like not as crazy as New York, but much more crazier than Atlanta, right? So, I would have to take the train to downtown, and then walk. Like, it was a double decker train, so I had to drive to the train station, take the train, and take an hour or 45-minute train ride inside, and take another hour walk through this, the cold city block. Chicago got some wind,
I
and
was going to say it's windy.
you
Yeah.
had to walk through all that stuff, and then go to work, and then the people used to drink heavy at night, and this wasn't even that long ago. This was just, I don't know, 5 years ago, and because I picked up a contract over there, and I was working for the number two agency. I forgot what it. I forgot which Ryan Reynolds. I don't remember the name of the top of my head, but and it was a great company. But I couldn't believe that they would go out Friday, and their Friday started. The party started at midnight. And so we went to these high end bars, and they had ice sculptures. It was, it was pretty nice, pretty mellow. And then as soon as it hit midnight, it was Coyote Ugly. It had women on the thing, and they're all synced. They're all synced with the outfits and stuff, and it was a party town, and they were drinkers. And I
Mm,
was thinking, they're drinking through the whole weekend. How are they functioning? I couldn't do that. Like, I cannot drink that heavy. I'm a liquor guy, and I used to drink and go out a lot, but I probably destroyed part of my liver. And they would do this day in and day out, and I couldn't keep up with it. I was like, these are like super people or something, because
yeah, the thing
I
is,
felt inferior in that environment. And of course, it was my environment was difficult, because there were certain things that I couldn't overcome. Like, as a contractor, you didn't get a laptop, and the computers were synced to the meeting rooms. Everything I did as I wasn't considered a project manager. I was a producer. I guess the same thing. and you have to book the meetings up right then and there, right? Because you got 100 something, 200 people in the agency, whatever it is. You got to get those meeting rooms booked up, and I couldn't function because I had to go back to my computer after the meeting to book the thing, and it would there we would agree on a room and then go back to the thing, and I couldn't book it now. Then I had to explain to everyone else, oh, is this a good time? Is that a good time? And it's my whole day was like running around with my head cut off. So I couldn't function in that environment. I
Uh,
don't know if you could do it.
it was only a matter of time before, I realized that I didn't want to. It really wasn't, I didn't
Yeah.
know. I didn't know my skill sets at that point. I was
Oh,
still stretching, stretching muscles, learning limitations, and
hmm
I'm glad that it happened. I mean, I burned out.
yeah.
Uh, I took a
Well,
job.
I think a lot of people do. I wouldn't even feel bad about it.
No, no, no.
A lot of people go through crisis. A lot of people get burnt out in the career. A lot of people have trauma or change in their life, not necessarily trauma, but and they got to start over. And sometimes it takes years and years to
I
get
had to
back on
start
your
over
feet.
3 times, at least 3 times,
Yeah,
at
and
least
it's
3 times.
exhausting. I imagine.
It was, it was, I, my business, I began to call I started my own business. I called it the Flying Dragon because the dragon rises from ashes. And I
Okay.
just kept getting burnt out, just burnt. And, I was doing A B testing. I didn't know that I was A B testing. First, I was A B testing
Yeah.
myself. And then
Yeah.
I discovered, oh, these are my skills. Okay, so how do I use them? Now I'm A B testing again. What do I do with these skills? And
Yeah.
then I finally A B tested myself and being able to find my own work instead
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
going to
You have
work.
to find within, and you have to find your initial drive from within. So if you depend on external stuff all the time, it's good. You know, it's great. It's great to have someone believe in you even when you don't believe. That's when you know you have friends.
Yes.
That's when you know you have good people. But it doesn't start from there. It starts
No.
from what everyone tells you. You can't do this. This is not going to happen. You're not smart enough. You know this and that or whatever, and you do it. You do
no, I
you
could
yeah,
do
you
this.
shut your mouth, you put your head down, and you make it happen. And it's not going to be perfect, but that internal motivation is that first portion.
Mhm.
And then people see that, and then you start attracting the right tribe. But before you can attract the right people, the right clients, and your right tribe, like your people that will support you, you're going to lose all your friends.
Yep.
And when you make that, if you have to make that change, as you have to realize there's a lot of pain.
Hmm.
You gotta imagine, like in my life when everything was going great, everyone loved me. Troy was a fun guy. We walk across the street, high end bars, beautiful people everywhere. You know, everyone loves you, and then you find out that when you lose your money or something, like no one
No
cares.
one cares.
You and a lot of people go through PTSD for other reasons, for war, for military separation, you name it. I ran to a set of dominoes over the years that kept on knocking me down,
Hmm.
and I just had to get over it.
You had
And
to pull
so,
yourself up.
oh yeah, it was hard. It was hard. My mother died, and I've never had a chance to really help her in the things that she wanted financially.
Hmm.
And then my younger brother died, and then I was dating a young girl, which is totally my fault. Put my hands up. It's just you can't, you can't help people. I was doing everything and trying to improve, her situation. And then she was screwing around with people I knew and said some things that would get me in trouble that was not true and was just very destructive. Let's just say
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
devastating, right? And then I had to start all over. And then the thing that saved me was knowing that I had other responsibility. So I found out about my youngest daughter through through the stepfather, And he was like, "Well, I need money for child support." I said, "Sure." I gave him money, and I stopped because I knew he would cuss me out, and then I would show up on his door because it was a strategy. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
my daughter, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the mother was out of the picture; she was deported, and and so I said, "Hey, you can't work, can you?" She says, "No, I can't get any work done." I said, "Well, looks like you have to sign her over. Let's go to the notary and do it." I had I needed my daughter back. And now that I had my daughter, I said, "Well, I have responsibility because I have this little creature, for lack of better words, and this is actually my second opportunity because as a divorcee, most divorced men have pretty much lost their family because the
Yeah.
wife goes away, family goes with them.
Right.
And so it's very and for a judge to award the kids to the husband is very far and few in between. It's
Yeah.
just how it is. It's geared towards females, right?
Right.
Even though
Right.
the stats say 70% of the guys in prison single mother homes, right? So a single mother and a single father are not necessarily the same thing.
Right.
But that's why I think but I always think it's great to have a family because I know I'm not a female. I don't have certain things I can't do well,
Mm-hmm.
right? And not to put myself down, but, you know, I have a hard time figuring out her hair. It's just not my thing. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And I'm like, I struggle with just regular splitting her hair for the ponytails, right? All the other stuff is good. I potty trained her in like 4 days. I made stuff happen, but there's certain areas that a mother would be great. And so I long, at men when they start coming back up and they're getting a little more mature and they make money, they typically long for family, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and so those are my motivations. So you got to find out what is your motivation for making this thing happen, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need mental help and stuff, do it. There's nothing shameful. I mean, you don't want to advertise it to everyone, you know. Like for
Mm-hmm.
example, let's take something really bad, like I don't know. Say you have a crack, you're a crackhead, you have a crack problem, right? You
Mm-hmm.
probably don't want to tell people that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just get your teeth fixed, keep it to yourself, and just
Right.
add some bad problems and move on. So you have to have some common sense, of course. You have to whine about stuff, but at the end of the day, you are an adult, and you got to like, look, who am I? I'm not a kid anymore. I cannot make excuses. Am I suited for this entrepreneur life?
Right.
Can I get a job? Like, I can't even get a job. I'm overqualified. They
I
won't
can get
hire.
a job. I can get a job.
Yeah, and there's discrimination as well. If
Yes.
you're too senior,
Yes.
they
I'm way too
they will
senior.
not hire
I'm
you
done.
because
I'm
yeah,
done.
your only choice is to be, and you better make that work. You got to make that entrepreneur thing work. So what the heck am I good at? What can I be good at? And how can I turn this around? And a lot of it is try to be a more likable person. That sounds stupid, doesn't it? For a lot of people. But if people don't like you, they don't want to work with you.
Right.
And I don't have the best personality. So I came from a type A trait, which is the worst thing you can. Because I'll tell you the honest truth. It's not me being mean, but it comes off as being mean. I said, okay, how can I tell the truth and work on my social skills, but not sound like a douchebag? And so it takes a lot of practice, and it takes a lot of, and so you have to slow down sometimes and realize who you're communicating with and why.
I called it how to say no by saying yes.
Explain
So
that. I would love to hear that.
so I am the type of person that identifies and discovers through boundaries. And I identify boundaries, and instead of saying we can do this, 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 and this, I'll generally say we can't do this. That's how I
Hmm.
think.
Hmm.
So what I'm doing is I'm creating the box or the circle around the things that we can do by identifying what we can't. That's how I think. Most
Okay.
people do not think that way. So I'm like a
I would
risk
agree. Yeah.
manager. I'm a risk manager. I'm like, oh, that's risky. That's risky. This is risky. This is risky. Ah,
Oh,
I
I
had
see.
just identified what we're going to be doing because this is not risky. We're going to be doing this.
Oh, you
But
do the
by
Sherlock
that,
Holmes method.
yes,
That's
by
that's
this
the Sherlock
time,
Holmes method. The whatever remains is the truth.
it's the truth. But by that time, people are like, she is so negative.
Oh yeah, it just comes off wrong. Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
would
So
imagine
I've
that.
had to my entire life say hold back, like filter, like shut up. Think, okay, well,
Yeah,
what they're saying right now we can't do.
yeah, you have to
And if
think
I have,
internally,
yep, or if I have to
not out
say
loud. People need to
exactly,
hear all that.
if I have to say anything, I literally need to say yes and then say no in the sentence, and they understand that. Believe it or not, I'm
Yeah,
agreeing with them, so I'm not rubbing them. But
yeah,
when I confirm what the yes
yeah.
is, it's the complete opposite of what they just said.
Well, I'll tell you this much: the clients that do well can take direction, and you have to have a mutual respect.
Hmm.
So you have different type of clients. Some are very high level, like in general. If you're a high end coach, you're high level. You're not into the details. You
Right.
will look over stuff. That's where your magic is, the high level. And then you
Hmm.
got people like me that are I have my hands in the cookie jar. I see
Hmm.
the inner workings, right? And there's disadvantages and advantages of both. And you just have to realize that personality that you're talking to, is this someone I want to work with? You know,
Hmm. Right.
and is this person going to deliver what they say? Because I'm blunt. I will tell you what it is, but I'll give you a warning. I say, okay, if you work with me, this is not a. It's easier in my business to make suggestions as if you're dictating. Okay, does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Hmm. That's what
So
I'm saying.
dictatorship, because I know more than the client.
Hmm.
So I don't want to, unless you're paying for my exploration time. I really don't. I'm just going to tell you, okay, how do you want to do it? And I will listen to them, and I will develop something around that makes sense, that I know that I can execute on. If
Hmm.
I think it's an awful idea and I think they can't convert, I won't take them as a client.
Right.
I just don't do it, because they'll destroy your rep. You'll take their money, and there'll be all these issues and stuff like that. So you have to understand the inner workings of not just the client's mind, because you want to help them, but you need to know how are they set up structurally. You
Hmm.
know, like, because I always hear, oh yeah, I can sell. I have no problem selling. I said, okay, I just need more bookings. Okay, well, can you send me your, I don't know, your tech stack and what you're doing? I'm gonna create a package. Well, we don't have packages. I said, look, on LinkedIn, you got to be known for something.
Hmm.
Why are you better than this other person?
Hmm.
He said, well, I don't know. I said, well, this is gonna be a hard conversation then,
Hmm.
because you got to know why. Because I can't answer certain questions, but I could fix some of the stuff to get his bookings, and his bookings can convert to me to business, and
Hmm.
his business is 100K $1 million a pop, right? So time is of the essence, and so I say, okay, let me create your package. He goes, what is the package going to be? I said, let's say it's a one resource package, and I'm just making it up. But what it is try us for one resource, and I'll make a story around it, where it's like, there's a no risk guarantee. People love that.
Hmm.
Try me out for 30 days. I'm so confident at the work that we do. Try us out for that's one resource for 30 days. If you don't like it, you don't need to pay for it. And I have a history of great work. And I worked with Boeing and all these high end companies. I can get this done. Give me 30 days, right? Do a package around it. Even if they don't want it, it's a discussion point. Because when they're
Right.
looking at your profile, they got to figure out, who the hell is this person, and why do I want to deal with them? Why do
Hmm.
I want to connect with them? And you got a talking point there. And so you need your premium. That's why I have two offers. Although I can do a lot of stuff well, I don't talk about anything but my two offers.
Hmm.
I say, you can do it. I can teach you to do it yourself, or it's a done for you.
Hmm.
That's it. I mean, there's different flavors of that. I don't even get into that yet. Different flavors of done for you.
Hmm.
There's more work and less work, but I don't even get into that. Do you want to do it yourself?
Hmm.
Do you want me to do it for you?
Hmm.
Because, well, can we do it together? I said no, because that don't work.
Yeah,
You know,
that's utter
because
confusion.
because the gentleman that I asked the information from for one research pack, that was a discussion I had 90 days ago.
Hmm.
That is 3 hours of work, not 90 days. And so some people cannot make those decisions. And those decisions will not only frustrate you because you had meetings over the last 90 days that cost the client a lot of money.
Right, right,
And
right,
so, and you want to help people because there's a lot of good people out there, but
right.
you can't help everyone. You got to let them, you can bring them to water. You got to let them
Yeah, they
drink.
have to really be ready. I remember when it was time for me to discuss certain things, I was very ready to listen. Otherwise, I don't want to listen to anybody because I know everything, you know. But I was ready.
Yeah.
I had some
Yeah.
things I needed to work through, and I needed to talk to specific people, business people with acumen who'd run businesses,
Yeah.
because I was my business model is as such, and I just needed that 10,000 view looking into what I'm staring at the 1,000 level.
Yeah,
So,
you cannot see the forest in between the
right.
trees.
And that's the
Mhm.
point. At when
That's
you're at
everyone's
that
issue, including mine. Yeah.
when you're at that point when you need that type of a service, whatever that service is, I I know that I'm doing this and I'm successful at what I do, but I'm going to need a virtual assistant, or I'm going to need, some sort of a discipline. I'm going to need to package my stuff up and I don't know how to whatever it is. There's a
Yeah.
point when you're doing your business when you realize I've basically understand what it is. I can't do it. Something's stopping me. I need some help. At that
Yeah.
point is
Yeah.
when you reach out for a specialist, and
Yeah.
you
And it's
have to
great. It's
listen
great to
to them.
understand your I think self accountability is the wrong word, but it's in that same family where you look internally and saying, well, where am I screwing up? Where am I weak? And where can I do better? There's a lot of people making money, but they can make more money if they did this. And so this whole thing about having your own business, uh, you know, again, the truth is most people are just lazy.
Mhm.
And if you're lazy and rich, you just got to give me more money. I mean, that's what it is. It's either that engagement with you and your personalization, or I got to be you, and that costs money. And
Mhm.
so, if you got say $2,000 a month versus 6,000, it's a different level of service. It's a
Mhm.
different. Okay, you want to be less involved, and you just want all you want is the bookings. You want that high end package where we're doing all the stuff for you. That's totally fine, but you cannot expect to get $6,000 or $10,000 worth of work a month. For $500. So
Yeah.
there's a big disillusion that everything is free. Can I tell the people, hey, I'm a good guy. Can you just pay for my mortgage this month? I don't feel like paying electricity. I mean, do you think they'll just be okay with that? So why would I be okay with you messing with my time? Me developing a product. So there's a huge difference between the quality of service and what you pay and then who you're working with.
Mhm.
So if you are putting more time into it and doing some of these things, then the cost is lower. And so a lot of people say, "Oh, that's so expensive." How much is a client worth?
Right. Right. No, that really.
Yeah, if you're on LinkedIn, you're hitting high end services. You have a high end package. So what's high end? What's a high offer? Anywhere between I don't know 1,000 a month to $1 million job. Let's just say that.
Mhm.
So if you're not charging, because you know how much work it takes to get the job,
Mhm.
that has to be absorbed into the thing. How much the software cost? And how much is the time? If you've been doing something 15, 20 years, your knowledge base
Mhm.
is worth money
Right.
because
Mhm.
for the a plumber, for example, say you got a plumber and you got a issue, whatever the issue is, some plumbing thing, I don't know. And the first plumber comes over, doesn't fix it, charges you for his time. The second one comes over, can't fix it, and the third comes over. These guys are spending 2-3 hours not fixing anything, right? And they're charging him per hour. And he goes through and he taps the wall, checks this one thing, looks at a meter, follows the line, and he spends 15 minutes and fixes it. And then he gives you a bill for $3,000. He's like, you're only here for 15 minutes, but you're charging me $3,000. I said, well, it's not. You don't charge on time. You charge on that performance, that experience that he has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would cost you $5,000 if you keep on calling all these other plumbers, because they're not going to be able to fix it, because he specializes in whatever it is and he just fixes it. Mm-hmm. So you're paying for his experience. So you actually, in the long run, saved money. Mm-hmm. And people don't get it. They're so bogged down on.
Well, I think that's because the market is flooded with lots of people that charge a lot of money and have absolutely nothing to offer. And when you finally do find somebody that has the talent, it's difficult for you to necessarily believe it. Yeah. And you're somewhat disillusioned by the whole process. There are a lot of people out there that have.
They get burned out. They get burned out in that sense.
Yeah,
They get burned out of getting burned.
Well, a lot of people the mentality is they've got a coach for this and a coach for that and a coach. And that's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
If you've got
coaches, it is a lot of money. Thousands of dollars each month.
Thousands of dollars. And then when it comes time for you, like I really need to solve this problem, and now I need to find somebody, and they come by and they're skilled, and you find somebody who's skilled, and they throw you, their service fee, and you're like, well, why are you so expensive? And the answer to the question really is, why did you just spend that much money on 15 different people when you could have just come to me and spent it on me, and I could have solved all your problems?
That's a hard internal question and answer. I mean, think about it. We don't naturally think about that until after the fact.
Yeah.
So projecting, and I've heard of this, projecting pain is easier conversion than projecting progress, which I didn't even understand because I don't think that way. But most people, if you say, hey, what does it look like if you don't have this, what I have? What I have will fix your problem, right? And so what's the pain that you're going to get if you don't fix it? That's a more motivation, is how much money you will make if you have this product. It sounds crazy, but 70, 80, 90% of the people think that way. Even explaining stuff, I'm more detailed. So if you say, oh, it does this, and you give me a bullet point, it looks like snake oil to me. But most people, that's all they can absorb. And so you have to realize that your audience does not necessarily think the same way you do. Well, so you got to say, whoa. So they'll say, oh, does this and this and this? Oh, that's all I need to know. I'm interested. That's how most people comprehend stuff. But if you don't give me a couple of details in there, letting me know that you're not BSing me, I'm calling snake oil on it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily need somebody to tell me you're good enough, you're smart enough. I don't need that. I don't need
blowing
that.
Smoke up your skirt is probably a negative.
I don't need that.
Yeah,
I know I'm that. I need to solve this problem. Can you solve the problem? You're good enough. Oh, let's meditate on that.
You're talking as if a coach is talking to you. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I don't need to meditate on it. I've already meditated. I know this is the core of the problem, and
a lot of people need to meditate on things. I'm a decision maker. I'm like, yes, no, okay, boom, and I move on, and I don't look back, because it doesn't do any good. Most people are not. They're risk avert in a way where they don't. It's everything's new to them, and so they're not. Wait, this is a better way of saying it. Most people lack the current capacity to think, to do really deep thinking on their own. They don't know how to think. And
Mhm.
not saying they're stupid at all. I'm saying they're just not used to thinking
Or they're
because
making decisions.
they had a certain path. They don't have to worry about tax. They don't have to worry. All they got to do is their one little job.
Mm-hmm.
So anything else is foreign to them.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff that is common sense to me is an epiphany to a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
and it blows my mind. It's like what? But you don't like even today. And when I found out I made a mistake, everyone wants to get on that the mastermind. I have something called the client acquisition mastermind. That's we do it together. I teach you how to do it method, right? And it's a group coaching, and they all think it's free. I'm like, it's a mastermind. You don't get masterminds for if they tie. So, and when people tie out free mastermind, it's not really a mastermind. Then, you think I'm gonna spend 10 hours, literally 10 hours a week, just doing the work, not promoting it, not doing it, just doing the work for free? That's a $5,000 program, and we're even discounting it. And so it blows my mind. You ask for it, they don't want to pay anything. So again, you have to kind of go where the people are used to be paying for it, and the people that are used to paying for it are already making a little bit of money. When they make a little money, they see the value in saying, "Oh, I could make more.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't do this, I'm not going." That pain hits in. If I don't do this thing that Troy tells me to do, I will not make more.
Mm-hmm.
That's a more that's a bigger motivator than the way I said it originally.
Your
And
mastermind is more like a workshop mastermind where, you have to do these things. And in order, for me to show you
well,
the
yeah, or just don't
skills,
be an entrepreneur. Then just get a job. If you're
yeah,
not going to do stuff or get someone to do
that's
it
the
for
point.
you, it
You
can be
have
either
to
or.
do stuff. You have to do stuff. The
People don't want to do anything.
It's not, the model has been for a lot of people. Oh, where's that passive income?
Yeah, I don't really.
Solopreneurs are not passive income.
Passive income are for the people that are already rich.
Passive income
Sorry.
is a whole different shtick. It's a
Yeah,
whole
it's a whole
different
thing.
deal.
It's increasing your current money by a certain percentage a year. That's passive income. So they may have certain stocks or certain investment homes and stuff like that, or certain areas to produce, say 10 to 100% of their income. So if they had a million, they would diversify that income where it would produce a minimum of 10 to 100%. 100% is really tough, but to say you can guarantee a conversion of 10% a year. That's really attainable, super easy. Well, 10% of a million is 100,000. So if you want to live $100,000 life and do nothing, that's one way. That's passive income. You
But
know,
you can't. They're selling it as if, oh, you can do some, just do this mastermind as a passive income. It's not passive. You've got to put work
work,
into it. So
sales is work,
mastermind is not
creation work,
passive income.
communications work.
Passive,
Yeah,
So, oh, well, we'll do some training. Well, if you do real good training, it's not passive because you're going to have to build
true.
the modules. You're going to have to update the modules. You have to create the resources. And, okay, so
Like you
all
said, you gotta do stuff.
you have,
Okay, for my mastermind, I'll take for example. There's 24 weeks. I require 12. So my motto is be functional in 30 days, be profitable in 90 days.
Mhm.
So it's not exactly linear because there's certain things you got to back into. So if I had to create a linear way of doing it, I would start with foundation, understanding who you are, understanding your all. For a 30-day to 90-day deal, you got to skip some of that and tap it on the back end because you
Mhm.
can't do it in a normal order. You have to do it as how can I understand the basics and get me moving? And now that I'm moving, how can I now refine it?
Mhm.
Which so you have to. So we have 2 meetings a week. The first meeting is just crash course on what is LinkedIn, and the task is pick a daily routine.
Mhm.
And so on LinkedIn, there's like three major areas. There's a lot of stuff, but I preach the three major areas: networking, content, and then outreach. Right. So you have stuff coming in. You have two-way direction coming in and out. And some people only preach one little thing, right? You might
Mhm.
find that one thing works well, but you got to be aware of those three, and they overlap. And
Mhm.
they say, well, what's the most important thing? I said, get your head straight. Figure out
Mhm.
what you're going to be doing. What are you going to be doing every single day? Let's
What's
create a
that's
daily
in your
process.
which
When am I
that's
doing this 1 hour? What's going to make the most impact in the least amount of time? Because routines will help you organize. So
right.
I know that I don't care hell and high water between 8 and 9 a.m. morning, or 9 and 10, or 11 and 2, whatever that hour and a block and a half block is, I'm blocked off and I'm heads down and I'm doing my daily process,
Mhm.
because repeatable daily processes really help, you
Okay.
know. So that's lesson one. And then on Thursday is like, did you do this? How you do this? What questions you have? So it's open hour. So it's more like a master class, and the Thursday is like a mastermind. And that's just 1 week.
Right. But
Week number two.
there's certainly
Yeah.
work involved. You're expecting them to do some work. It's not well, a lot of master
Yeah.
classes
You don't
are
get any participation trophies. Yeah. This whole patient, this whole participation trophy lifestyle is damaging the U.S. You gotta get your feelings hurt sometimes.
yeah.
That's the
It's
world.
well, that's the thing, it's work, and in many cases, a lot of these, I mean, a lot of the training programs expect you to go through a worksheet and a program, and that's as it should be. That's as it should be. But for an intensive mastermind with a workshop, um, not just a recording where you listen to somebody who tells you all about their life, and you're all motivated about their life until you try to apply it to yours, and now you're still stuck after you've taken this video training class that you've paid money for. I mean, it's great to
Yeah.
hear other people. Listen, TED Talks are very inspirational, but
Yeah, but there's a purpose for that.
well, you have
It's
to
not. It's
be
not. It's not. It's not getting stuff done. It's exposing you to the idea.
right.
Those are two different things.
Exactly.
Yeah, my master class is not just expose you. It's like get you in the mix,
Right.
like make you functional and make you profitable.
Right. Right.
Um, I know you got feelings, but if you're gonna be hurt by the feelings, if by me telling you this would be the best way of doing stuff, then you know um, you need to do something else.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't have time. We don't in real life. You don't have time for that. You are going to hurt someone's feelings just by communicating. So the idea of me communicating to you could potentially be offensive, and that's a risk you take when you communicate. And it's not meaning that you want to be offensive, but when you deal with other people have different ideologies, and you're not going to mix, you're not going to match up with every person. And then if you did, you'd be a people pleaser, and then you'd be
Right.
kind of people can smell that. People like genuine people.
Right.
Like
Right.
I can work with people I don't believe in, like, for example, politics. I'm not really right or left, right? But I have a friend of mine that loves Trump. I don't know why, but he's a good guy, and,
Right.
and he's very smart and good at what he's doing.
Right. So it doesn't matter,
I'm not
right?
gonna. It doesn't matter.
And
Like
you don't
we
have
can have discussions on it,
right.
and I like certain people on the left. I like certain people on the right, and I dislike certain people on both.
Right.
But if I just happen not to like, which it doesn't mean you're a bad person, you
But that
know.
has nothing to do with learning about your own abilities, learning what you can do, what you can't do, and what
Well,
you should be
actually
trying to do.
it does. It
Okay.
has a lot to do with it. I would disagree, because if you have a problem with everyone saying something that you don't necessarily
Oh, right,
understand,
right, right. You're in the you're not in.
yeah, you
Don't
need
be a
to be open to
solopreneur.
listen.
Yeah.
And of course, whatever you do that you make so much money in, I might not be able to do it, but I
Hmm.
can at least understand and appreciate, and know that, okay, now I'm going to hire Joy for that thing. I
Hmm.
get it. I'm never going to be a master at that skill set, because my mastery is over here, and this is where my time is. But I'm aware of Joy's mastery in that end, and that end I need to convert over.
Hmm.
So having the ability to acknowledge that you're not, I'm better at most people at a lot of things, but not everyone.
Right.
and I love to find people that are smarter or better suited in different areas.
Right.
It gives me an opportunity to learn and engage. I love to deal with smart people.
You've got
And
to.
so,
You've really got to be able in this in the solopreneur space. You've really got to be fairly stable. Know who you are.
mhm.
Understand the world as it is. That there's no such thing as, oh, but that's not fair. That makes no sense. It's like this is
Yeah,
the way
yeah,
it
you're right.
is. Sometimes you're going to go out. You're going to, have a conversation with somebody. It may go off the deep end, and you have to decide at that point in time: is it worth this conversation, this business, this prospect, or maybe this current client? Is it worth burning over this concept? Yes, it is. No, it's not. Make the decision.
Yeah,
I mean, you've got
yeah,
to be on your
yeah.
feet,
You're
and then
absolutely right.
you've got to be. You've really. You cannot be that this
You can't be
sensitive.
pansy about it.
You
Yeah, can't
cannot
be
be.
pansy.
You cannot be.
Um,
Cannot
I
be.
tell men all the time, and a lot of men share things that happen to them, right? Usually relationship and some dirty things that happen to them. And my advice, and this is terrible, I said, don't tell your girlfriend.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. No.
said,
No.
because a lot of women, they don't want to hear the weakness. I said, you can tell me, or you can go by yourself and cry. And that sounds awful. Get it out your system. Just realize what's happening or whatever. But you got to know your surroundings. You
Hmm.
got to know that, like for example, in a relationship, a lot of women say, I want to hear your sensitive side and all that. But 9 out of 10 times, as soon as you open up and show your vulnerability, you're seen as weak. And
Mm.
that's almost a genetic thing. And I don't know why it's like that. I didn't make this up. It's just how it is. And so you have to be
It's a
aware of your
paradox.
surroundings. Yeah. The what?
It's a paradox.
It's a parrot. Yeah, it's true. But you have to be aware. And of course, the woman's not lying when she says it. She doesn't
No, no.
realize. She
She
doesn't
doesn't
realize
realize.
it's not true, but she's not lying. You know
Well,
what I
here's
mean?
the
So
thing.
there's a
My
difference.
husband, I learned about my husband that he was more sensitive than I was. But him being more sensitive, he also had a specific tool set and a specific way of looking at things. So if I would go to him because I've had a bad day, somebody was unkind to me, and I wanted to unload on him,
Hmm.
and if I told him so and so was unkind to me, his first reaction was, I'm going to beat the ever loving crap out of that person. Where do they live? I'd be like, no, this is not exactly what
He's
this
old school. This guy's old school.
old school, right? And I thought to
Yeah.
myself, and I realized I'm
Yeah.
upsetting
Yes.
him because he realizes somebody was unkind to me, and now he's
Yeah,
trying to fix
you
it.
like that masculine concept. You don't
Well,
want him to beat
no,
anyone up.
well, no. You see, he was trying. He he was available to listen to me, and then as men are,
They
they
want a
fix
solution.
it.
You know? They
Right, they
want to fix
fix
it.
it.
Yeah, they want to fix
Right,
it.
and
Yeah, yeah.
here's
That's a defect that we have.
and
We're
here he
fixer.
is. He sees I'm crying, right? So he
Yeah.
said, "How dare they do that to him?" Now he's what is he going to do? He's a man. He's going to beat the ever. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Of
learned
course.
quickly in my marriage there are some things I cannot share with him, and I need to
Yeah,
buck up.
or how you share with them has to be a certain thing.
No, I
It's
realize
kind of funny. People say everyone's equal, like men and women are equal, and I say men and men are not even equal. So how can men and women be equal?
equal.
That's
Yeah.
just a really crazy thing to say. That like, oh, women are strong as men. I said I haven't met a woman. I'm not even a big guy. I have not met a woman as strong as me. I'm sure they're out there, but as a general rule, like I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'7". I'm 195 pounds. But you know, if you're 150 pounds, I can pick you up over my head with a single arm. You know, so some of the stuff I hear is preposterous. But I also think that women are better than men in certain areas.
Of
So
course.
they're yin and yang. They're not.
Yes.
It's not an equal thing. You know, like for example, it says, "Oh, I don't want a man to make decisions and all this other stuff or whatever." Well, do you want a strong man? You know, do you want him to have leadership? Okay, I said, let me give you a little hint, ladies. The truth is, women run most of the stuff anyway.
I
Men
ran the
don't want to.
household.
They make all the decisions,
I
all the
ran the
important.
household.
All they do is all the men really want is just run it by them.
That's right.
Because if something's weird, they'll flag it.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
because men get weird, they'll have an idea that things sounds good and it's just kind of stupid sometimes. And it's the same thing with women. But women have to control because they usually handle the kids, they usually handle the house, they usually handle what schools are going to. They do a lot more work, and that means a lot more decisions in a relationship. So I don't think that men are trying to dominate, but you need to have one, like, even if it's a rubber stamp, you have to have agreement on your decisions. And so I think this world is upside down. They think that men that are old fashioned or misogynist is quite opposite. That old fashioned values are guys that have a high value for women,
Right.
and they want them to do well. You
Right.
know, yeah. So I even tell you an example. What's wrong, baby? Okay, she has no idea what we're doing. So
That's quite all right. As I said,
take some chips. Yeah, tomorrow we'll go to a birthday party. How about
ooh,
that? Okay, we're going to Dave and Buster's tomorrow. That's a video game
ooh,
place and stuff
yeah, yeah.
for kids.
Dave
Yeah,
and Buster's.
yeah. You like it or no? All right, take the whole thing. Go upstairs. Thank you. Don't spill
Um,
it.
we'll cut this so that you could go back. We'll cut this. We've been talking for an
Yeah, I got a meeting in
hour.
like 10 minutes anyway. But I do appreciate it. What was I gonna say? Also, you need to know what your limitations are, even as a man.
Mhm.
Like, I don't ever get in fights. I could fight, and I'm a scrapper, but
Yeah, that's
will
got
I?
to,
Will
you,
I? Well, yeah. Will I heal? Will I be in jail? You know, do I want to
that's the
go into a
question.
meeting with a black eye? So I remember not too long ago, and I'm in fairly good shape. You know, I was at a downtown area in Dunwoody in Georgia, nice little place, and I ran into, and I was in the military, so I can sense who's in the military. Um, but this, we're talking, and then I didn't realize he was like, he was a beer short of a six pack, let's say,
Okay.
and I didn't know until his switch came on, and he was about my size but younger and better health,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
I calculated that if I get in a fight with this guy, I would lose. And
Right.
I knew this, so you have to kind of use strategies to make sure you don't all of a sudden get into trouble, you know. And so you have, like you said, you know how to talk to your husband. So I knew the only way out is to cuss the guy out and tell him how much of a douchebag. Because I was in there, I bought him a beer, and he started going off on me and saying that I was interrogating. I was just talking, right? And I said, "Oh, he's been through some stuff, and he wants to go out and fight." I said, "I'm going to win this fight, so I either get the beer bottle and bust him ahead right now, or I which I risk going to jail and all this stuff that I don't want to do, right? Or I handle it through psychology, and psychology was to cuss him out. I said, I came over here to this, and you're being a D,
Hmm.
and da da da, and I just told him, and I got the bartender involved, and they took care of it, you know, because you have to kind of know your surroundings and how to handle stuff. So
Hmm.
in life, you have to be proactive and aware, and
Aware.
just, yeah, and know where your special power is to succeed. So always have good friends around you, people that want to know that they want to see you succeed,
Hmm.
and a lot of those things will bring out the best motivation in you. You know,
Hmm. And
I
the
don't know if
whole
those two stories match up or not, but
everything about life is building that up. Like,
yeah,
so you're building that up. There really is, there needs to be a focus. So for all the young people, there needs to be a focus. You really do need that little bit of discipline. It seems like a free for all and lots of fun and let's do it. Oh, sure, I'll do anything. but you really should be,
Yeah.
focusing on the concept that at some point in time you'll have less time, but you'll have less time in front of you than you will have in front, less time in front of you than you have behind you, and you should have the brains and the resources at that point in time. That's
Yeah,
clear.
definitely. Well, I
Where
have
do,
to run,
where do
but
people find you on the web? LinkedIn, Troy
oh
Hippolito.
yeah, you just look at my first and last name on LinkedIn, and I'll be the LinkedIn guy there. So I'm like one of the few Troy Hippolitos there. It's not really too hard. It's just Hipolito. You also can reach out and book some time with me if you want to chat on my website. It's the TroyAgency.com.
Okay.
So you just go to that, and then there's a big blue button, and grab 20 minutes if there's something I can help you with.
And
Always
I'll
open
put
for a
that
conversation.
below.
Oh yeah, okay, let's do that. All
Thanks so
right.
much. I really appreciate your time and your daughter and your
Oh yeah,
story.
thank you. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate it, Joy. You have an awesome weekend.
You too. Take
All
care.
right. All right. Bye.
Bye.